Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Taskmaster is Wonderful podcast. I'm Eric, and today I'm talking about Taskmaster Australia Season 1, Episode 4, Boom, 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 Boom. As always, we have the Taskmaster Tom Gleeson and his assistant Tom Cashman administering tasks to our contestants Danielle Walker, Jimmy Rees, Julia Morris, Luke McGregor, and Nina Oyama. Before we get into the tasks, let's take a closer look at Julia's background. This is from her website, juliamorris.com. Julia first appeared on Aussie TV at 17, singing on talent show New Faces. By the mid-90s, Julia was a household name as a headlining stand-up and actor with starring roles in comedy sketch favorite Full Frontal, nighttime talk show In Melbourne Tonight, and comedy panel show Beauty and the Beast. Julia also starred in the Melbourne run of the hit musical I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. Her bio page has a whole lot more information, and you can also see on her IMDb she's appeared on so many shows as herself, lots of panel shows, game shows. She hosted I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, all kinds of stuff, but most importantly, she's here on Taskmaster Australia. We start this episode with the prize task. Coolest thing they found on a walk within 1 kilometer of their house. 1 point goes to Luke, who brought in a chair. It had a great view, but by removing it, he removed the cool thing about the chair. 2 points goes to Nina, who brought in a pork roll from a local restaurant. I would have given this more points than Jimmy's menu from a hipster winkery cafe, as he describes it, because it's an actual thing. It's cool to have food, not as cool to have a menu for food. I guess the possibility of all the kinds of different kinds of food is a little bit better. I don't know. Jimmy gets the 3 points. 4 points goes to Danielle, who found a crab in the park. Then 5 points goes to Julia, who found an inflatable tube man. I'll probably forget about this at the end of the episode, but it made for a really great visual as the winner imitated the inflatable tube man. It was very fun. The first film task was sink the bowling ball. You can't get wet, and the fastest time wins. Now, this episode ended up being really lenient with the rules. The Taskmaster did not disqualify anybody this entire episode, despite what I feel like were some pretty heavy rule breaks. First, we see Luke and Danielle, and as they knock the bowling ball into the water, Luke by throwing pins at it, and Danielle going out onto the raft to knock it in, it is revealed that the bowling ball floats. So Luke then gets into the raft, grabs the bowling ball, ends up putting it in the kitchen sink. As he exits the room, Tom points out that his pants are completely wet on the back, and he claims to have peed himself. He takes 14 minutes and 6 seconds to sink the bowling ball. Danielle tries to put the bowling ball in a crab pot along with a heavy toolbox, but as she throws it into the lake, the bowling ball pops right out of the pot, and she has to retrieve it again. She tries to tie it up with chains, eventually finds a net and binds it into the net with the chains, and that does the trick. But her fussing with the chains and all the other stuff she had to do means her time was 40 minutes and 23 seconds. Next, we see Jimmy and Julia. Jimmy hits it with a pin right away, and then sees that it doesn't sink, jumps into the boats, and puts it under the pallet. Julia right away gets into the boats, also puts it under the pallets. Both of their hands get wet, and Jimmy also comments that his knees are wet. His time was 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Julia, 8 minutes and 14 seconds. It's decided in studio by the Taskmaster that the intent was not to have anybody just jump into the water and sink with the bowling ball. That getting a little bit wet from incidental contact was okay. So nobody ends up getting disqualified for any wetness. And then we see Nina. She knocks the bowling ball into the water and turns around, never looks back, and is excited that she did it so quickly and wonders, why are you still filming? The bowling ball never sinks. As of their studio record, it's remained unsunk for 78 days, 9 hours, and 23 minutes. Nina gets 1 point, Danielle gets 2 points, Luke gets 3, Julia gets 4, and Jimmy gets the full 5. Next up, Snap a Thing, Crackle a Thing, and Pop a Thing. The most satisfying wins. You have 20 minutes. Tom Cashman is the sound operator for this task, and an important aspect of the task is that only your first attempt counts. Now, before all of the attempts began, I wrote down what I thought maybe I would try. I thought I would pop a balloon. I would crackle some oil in a pan, maybe grill something up, maybe make something delicious. And I would snap a rubber band, either on myself or maybe on Tom. But luckily for Tom, he did not have anything bad done to him during this task. First, we see Luke. He snaps a bunch of sticks. He crackles the microphone into the bowl of cereal, and then he sings a pop song. Danielle is up next. She crackles an eggshell that she found in the garbage. She snaps the clapboard, and then she pops a balloon with a knife. She was really rushed to do those last two, so I'm really surprised that she got as many points as she did. She pulled it off. She wanted to use the yoga ball, but she was going to pop it with the axe, and the crew would not let her do that. I think she could have popped it with the big pair of scissors, but it probably wouldn't have been as satisfying of a sound as the balloon popping. Julia popped her mouth, just a quick little kind of thing. She snapped at Tom, saying, "How very dare you?" And he was actually pretty frightened by that. And then she set the cereal on fire. Just a little bit of the cereal, maybe like 10 grains of the popped rice. Jimmy snaps the Taskmaster painting, not the big one in the background, but a smaller version of it, which makes another appearance later on. He crackles like some nuts or something, just on the counter, and he like crushes them with a pan. And then he doubles up a balloon because he thought it would make it even more satisfying. He gets it blown up really big, and I was nervous the entire time that it was going to pop in his face. And as Tom was counting him down to pop it, it blew up under the stress of the inflation, and it looked pretty painful. But then we see Nina, who starts out by pointing out it's really helpful to read the envelope. She starts by snapping a small twig. Very disappointing. Then she asks, "Can I do a second snap?" I'm going to do a second snap. She finds a big twig. Sound redacted. She looks super satisfied with it. And she moves on to crackle some cornflakes. Again, very disappointing. She finds something like some pipe cleaners in a cellophane package. Crackles that, again, redacted as her second attempt. She does a quick little mouth pop, like a very disappointing again, but then finds a glass bottle with like a stopper top. That pop is redacted. Tom Cashman in the studio confirms that all of her second attempts were so good, but none of them counted. She only gets 2 points. Luke gets 1 point for his pretty bad sounds. Julia gets 3 points. Danielle gets 4 points, and Jimmy gets 5. The next task, thoroughly spread this generic yeast spread on the best thing. You have 12 minutes. And then after they did that, they were given a second part of the task. Completely clean it off. Fastest time wins. So the first half of the task ended up not being judged for points. It ended up being entirely based on the fastest time cleaning. So first we saw Danielle. She spread it on that same painting of Tom that Jimmy snapped in the previous task. She was very carefully shaping it. She made like a 3D structure, and then she was able to clean it very quickly in 2 minutes and 21 seconds. She took the full 5 points. Next up, we saw Nina, who spread it all over a globe. She took it outside to clean it in the bathtub, but then she moved on to cleaning it off in the lake. It was still pretty gross when she was done. And Tom asked her, how is this going compared to other lake tasks? As we see, just a couple feet away from him is the bowling ball that is still not sunk. She took 11 minutes and 8 seconds, getting 2 points. Then we saw Luke, who right away sticks his hand into the yeast spread for science. He comes up with the game of hand guessing, the task within the task. He's great at coming up with these little games to play with Tom while doing the other tasks. We had the airplane contest before. We have the hand guessing between his hand and a mannequin hand. Looked very fun, but also very gross. And he ends up doing the predator handshake. Dylan, you son of a bee. He takes a long time to clean off and does not entirely clean it off. It takes him 7 minutes and 33 seconds and claims that the mess still left on his arm was there before the task, that he had a bathroom accident. Lots of bathroom incidents claimed by Luke in this episode. He gets 3 points in this task. I guess it kept him from being disqualified, but also the Taskmaster just wasn't disqualifying anybody, so he would have been fine with not claiming to have messed himself. Then we get to Jimmy, who covers all of Tom's clothes with the yeast spread, and then when tasked with cleaning it, he has Tom carefully remove it. Luckily, he didn't put any on Tom's face or hair, although however long that would have taken to clean wouldn't have made a difference for how much the dry cleaner took. 4 days, 16 hours, and 27 minutes. And then Julia, she gets 4 points. She took off all of her clothes just in a towel, covered herself in the spread and toast for some reason, like some type of spa treatment. She just goes and takes a shower, which takes 6 minutes and 32 seconds. Very quick. And that brings us to the live task, which is a team task. They have to recreate famous scenes in history, only speaking in 4-letter words. Both teams broke that rule, and it was not mentioned. So I think, once again, Taskmaster was being very generous in this episode. We got 3 points for the team of 2, Danielle and Julia. They acted out the JFK assassination. Danielle going boom, 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 and naming this episode. Their second scene was something to do with Ned Kelly, or I was not familiar with this person. They are an infamous figure in Australian history. They were an Australian bushranger, outlaw, gang leader, and convicted police murderer. One of the last bushrangers, he is known for wearing a suit of bulletproof armor during his final shootout with the police. So that was what they reenacted again with the boom, 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 boom. And then their third scene was the Y2K bug, which Julia started by saying 2000, which I guess she was thinking of the actual number being 4 digits. So it's iffy. 5 points goes to the team of 3, Jimmy, Luke, and Nina. They act out the Black Death, the eruption at Pompeii, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the cloning of Dolly the sheep, and stock market crash. For that last one, they say cash, 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 and then no cash, no cash, no cash. The word no is not a 4-letter word. They also use the word to, T-O, before that. So, I don't know. I think both teams should have been disqualified here. Once again, they have huge improv troupe energy during this. Like, they are way into acting this out. It was a lot of fun to watch, despite their blatant breaking of the rules. We end up with a tie. So the scores going into the tie break, we have Nina at 12, Luke at 13, Danielle at 18, and then at the top, Jimmy and Julia both with 19 points. The tiebreak is to honk a car horn the quietest. Jimmy wins So it paid off for him to put his shirt on the front of the car. He was 5 decibels quieter than Julia's attempt. So congratulations to Jimmy. It really is Jimmy week. As fans of the Heathcliff comic strip would know. The season scores: Nina is at 50 points, Luke at 51, Julia at 64, Jimmy also at 64, and Danielle in the lead at 66. It's really close at the top, really close at the bottom. Nina and Luke have a lot of ground to make up if they want any chance of winning the season. My favorite thing from this episode, once again, comes from Nina. The whole redacted sound effects was so funny. The editing of that was perfect. And then the reactions in the studio and everything. Perfect. So let me know what you thought about this episode by tweeting me at TIW Podcasts. You can follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Go to TIW Podcast for more episodes. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. And I'll see you next time here on Taskmaster is Wonderful. Bye.